I hate to admit it, but yes, it is true. I have officially begun selling my Sofi stock after losing tens of thousands of dollars. What is going on, everyone? I hope you are all having a fantastic day. So, as many of you know, I have a very storied history with Sofi stock, which I'll catch you up on in a second, talk about the newest factors that I feel are affecting the stock price, and most importantly, talk about what has changed that led me to start selling my Sofi stock. So to bring you up to speed really fast, way back in June of 2021, which is almost a year and a half ago at this point, I purchased just $1,000 at $21.57 per share. Then over the next several months through October of 2021, I continued buying as the price continued to fall in order to lower my average price per share. And I had increased my total investment to about $10,000, and at the time, the stock was hovering between $13 to $20 per share. And I thought that this was a genius move, lowering my average price per share, and thought that the price was coming down due to nothing more than market volatility and of course the recent IPO. But for all of 2022, Sofi stock has continued to fall lower and lower, and on March 21st of this year, I threw a Hail Mary and purchased $15,000 of Sofi stock at $8.14 per share, which meant my average share price fell all the way down to $12.52 per share, and my total investment was now over $25,000. But since my most recent update almost 6 months ago, Sofi has fallen even further, dropping below $5 per share at times and putting it into what is technically penny stock territory. That means that Sofi is down over 70% from my initial investment, and even though I have lowered my average price per share, I've still lost in excess of $10,000 on this investment. But in my most recent update about 6 months ago, things were already looking pretty bleak for this investment, and I talked about how I had already broken a majority of my personal investing rules, which included things like cutting my losses well before I lose 70% of my investment. And something I definitely did not do in this particular investment is cut my losses. So what has changed recently that led me to sell off a majority of my Sofi holdings? Well, I'll tell you from the start that I absolutely still believe in this company, and I love the platforms and tools that they offer, and quite honestly, I do think that their share price will rise in the long-term future. More on that in a second. But in terms of the market conditions, honestly, they have stayed pretty much the same, and that's kind of the problem. The market across the board has been crushed recently, not only because of ongoing economic issues on a widespread scale, but continued supply chain issues and a drastic increase in market fear and uncertainty, not to mention the upcoming midterm election and the impact that that could have on the stock market as a whole here in the United States. But as I talked about in my many previous videos, from a financial perspective at least, Sofi continues to knock things out of the park for the most part. They have had earnings call after earnings call that has far exceeded expectations and projections, and while they do continue to burn money hand over fist in order to fuel their growth, it's clear that they are truly just adding fuel to the fire, and what they are doing is working, at least in terms of getting new members to sign up. Sofi also received their national banking charter recently, has been able to launch new products and features as a result, and is now offering, as of today, an industry-leading 3% APY on their savings, which has brought in a ton of new checking and savings customers. But on the flip side of the coin, all the way back in April, I said this. And if I'm being completely honest, I would expect that we reach August and the student loan moratorium gets kicked down the road at least one more time through the midterm election here in the US. And for the first time ever on this channel, I was actually spot on correct, and the moratorium on student loans did in fact get pushed back again through the midterm elections until at least the end of 2022. Just for the record though, that doesn't make up for all the other times that I was completely wrong about this investment. There were also a lot of rumors circulating that Sofi could potentially be looking at a reverse stock split, and I talked about how that was likely not on the table unless Sofi fell below $5 per share for an extended period of time, because $5 per share or lower is technically considered a penny stock. And while it has dipped into that territory for brief periods of time, it is still hovering in that $5 to $6 range for the most part, and I still stand by my initial analysis that a reverse stock split is not likely to happen unless there is some major unforeseen catalyst. Okay, so if not much has changed, at least in terms of the economic factors at play here, then why have I suddenly changed my position from I'm holding this until the end no matter what, to it's time to cut my losses and move on? For me personally, it really comes down to opportunity cost. If you're not familiar, opportunity cost is a basic economic concept that essentially represents what you are giving up as your next best alternative. It's basically the loss of a potential gain, and in the case of investing, your opportunity cost is what you could have gained by investing your money somewhere else. So in my case, my $25,000 investment in Sofi is by far my largest single holding of any company, and as a percentage of my portfolio, it is still very small, but it is still far beyond what I would typically invest in any individual company, even after dropping almost 70%. So like I mentioned earlier, I do believe that Sofi stock still has a lot of potential in the long-term future. But right now, with so many other investment opportunities on sale, because the market has dropped so much and likely will continue to drop, the opportunity cost of me continuing to hold this bleeding investment just continues to increase to the point that it's time for me to cut my losses. Sofi has remained pretty much flat over the past few months, while other investments could eventually rebound and make up some of the major losses that I have had to eat on this particular investment. Obviously, this is all incredibly speculative investing and something that I personally don't dabble in very often, so for all we know, I could and likely will be completely wrong and regret this decision, and when that happens, I encourage you to make fun of me down in the comments. But the other thing worth considering, for me at least, is that by selling off this investment, I'm essentially taking advantage of what is called tax loss harvesting, since selling this investment for a loss before the end of this year will help to offset the gains on other investments. Although saying that out loud now, there's really not that many gains to be had out there. If that tax loss harvesting strategy went right over your head, I will just throw in here that the platform that I use for a majority of my investing, Wealthfront, is fully automated and will actually tax loss harvest for you. So they're not sponsoring this video, but it is a cool platform that I really like. So if you are confused about tax loss harvesting, then you might want to check that out. So like all of my previous videos on this topic, this probably won't age very well, and I'm sure that as soon as I sell off the remainder of my investments in Sofi, it will suddenly skyrocket to the moon, and Sofi will replace Wells Fargo and Chase Bank. And if that happens, I will be a very happy man nonetheless. But there are a number of investments that I have been keeping my eye on that are down 20 to 30% that I feel have a much better chance of rebounding than Sofi does of going back to my original average price per share. So after losing roughly $14,000 in total, I've officially sold off 50% of my remaining shares and will likely continue to sell off the rest over the coming weeks. I just don't have it in me to take the gut punch all at once and rip the band-aid. But as per usual, this is all just my opinion, and I know that this is probably going to be a somewhat opinionated topic, since a lot of you are probably holding this investment to the moon. And if that's the case for you, then I love that, and I'd love to know your rationale behind that decision down in the comment section below. On a brighter note, Sofi's products are still absolutely amazing, and I still will continue to use them for the long haul, so if you do want to check them out and get some free cash, then I will leave links for those down below the like button. As always, thank you so much for your time, take it easy, and I'll see you in the next one.